came into place when a representative from the US Air Force approached me during a conference in the US and asked if there was room for a US military payload on board the ASBM satellites. After that,
why ascent?
And the Norwegian Armed Forces were able to commit to the program.
The evolving operational environment drove an increased capability needed in the Arctic region. And now that the Arctic is more accessible, maintaining peace in the Arctic region is of the utmost importance. The partnership with Space Norway was explored because it addresses integrated deterrence and building relationships with our international partners and allies. With the growing strategic need for the North Polar region, we provide a more resilient capability. We provide 2 times polar SATCOM, and we've delivered this program faster and with significant cost savings.
So Northrop Grumman is the prime contractor responsible for the satellite vehicle, the communications payloads, EPSR payload, as well as the EPS CAPS ground system. So we are providing the end-to-end capability that is the ASBM. In June, Northrop Grumman built 2 satellite constellations for Space Norway's Arctic satellite broadband mission, departed from our manufacturing facility in Dulles, Virginia. This was a sector effort as we provided all 3 major components to bring commercial broadband and protected military satellite communications to the Arctic. We proudly designed, integrated, and tested the ASBM space vehicles, which includes 2 flight-proven GeoStar 3 platforms and X-band and Ka-band payloads. We also provided a pair of EPSR payloads and the EPSR CAPS ground system for this mission.
With the launch today of the ASBM satellites embarking Viasat's GX10 payloads, we take an important step in providing broadband connectivity into the Arctic region. The GX10 payloads represent an important step in Viasat's evolutionary network, providing broadband connectivity for mobility users no matter wherever you are, whether it's aviation, maritime, governments or scientists working in the region. Together through collaboration and teamwork, we're providing connectivity in the Arctic region that's been unavailable in the past, and this is a vital part in the evolution of Viasat's networks.
The ASBM program is a groundbreaking effort in an allied, governmental and commercial collaboration, both in a cost-efficient manner as well as showing how governmental and commercial needs can be met. We're already looking into new Arctic projects where we hope to bring in more of our allies, and we're looking forward to providing the first dedicated broadband services to users in the real Arctic.
The Falcon 9 on your screen is a 2-stage rocket developed and manufactured by SpaceX, known for its safe, reliable, and cost-effective access to space. It is the most flown U.S. launch vehicle ever, and also the first and currently the only orbital-class rocket capable of reflight. Now, starting at the top of the vehicle, which you can barely see through the fog there on your screen, we've got our carbon composite payload fairing, a protective shell that encapsulates the payload being sent to space. Just to provide a sense of scale here, the payload fairing that you can, again, just barely see on your screen is about 17 feet in diameter. It has enough room inside to hold an average-sized fire truck. The fairing is made up of 2 halves that will separate and jettison away from the vehicle once Falcon 9 reaches space. Today's payloads are, of course, the ASBM satellites, which were manufactured by Northrop Grumman. Continuing down the vehicle, we have our second stage. The second stage is powered by a single Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC for short. After stage separation, the MVAC engine will ignite and carry the payloads to its final orbit. The Falcon 9's first and second stages are connected by the black interstage, which houses the MVAC engine skirt and the system that decouples the 2 stages during stage separation. Below the first stage, which is powered by 9 Merlin engines, that provides the initial thrust to lift Falcon 9 off the ground and move the vehicle through the lower, thicker parts of the atmosphere. Each of these Merlin 1D engines delivers about 190,000 pounds of thrust at sea level, which gives Falcon 9 a combined 1.7 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. After stage separation, stage 1, which is also called the booster, will return to Earth using a combination of those Merlin sea-level engines and 4 titanium grid fins located at the top of the booster, which will guide it during its re-entry. The Falcon 9 first stage is also equipped with 4 landing legs that deploy just before landing to allow for vertical touchdown on either a landing pad or drone ship. For today's mission, we will be attempting to land this booster on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed on the Pacific Ocean. This mission marks this booster's 22nd launch and landing, having previously flown Crew 1 and 2, Sirius XM-8, CRS-23,
for strong back retract.
IXB, Transporter 4 and 5, Global Star FM-15, ISI Aero C3, Korea 425, Maxar 1, and 10 Starlink missions. I'm not going to lie, that is one heck of a resume. And of course, prior to the start of our webcast today, the Falcon 9 team performed functional checkouts for both the ASBM payloads and the launch vehicle. At T-minus 38 minutes, the team concluded their go.
Strongback retract has started.
There's confirmation that the strongback is beginning to pull away from the vehicle. And of course, at this point in our launch lead up, the pre-valves between the first stage and the second stage are open. At the T-minus 7 minute mark, engine chill began to prepare the Merlin engines for flight. The first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the transporter erector, or TE, which is that trussed structure you can see next to Falcon 9. We heard the nets call out that we are preparing for retraction here in just a couple of minutes. Just barely through the fog, you can see there that the strongback pulled away from the rocket by about 2 degrees. Now at T-minus 0, the ground hydraulic systems will pull the TE all the way back from 2 degrees to 45 degrees away from Falcon 9, so that it can have sufficient clearance to move away from the launch pad. At this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of rocket-grade kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Both stages will finish propellant loading about a minute apart from each other, so we're listening in now for those call-outs from Mission Control.
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
There's confirmation that we have finished loading liquid oxygen on board the first stage, and again, we are standing by for the same call out for stage 2 in just about 50 seconds. You can, of course, always keep an eye on our mission countdown right in the middle at the bottom of your screen. That periodic venting sound you hear is normal. At this point in the countdown, we are venting chilled gas from above the LOX tank to maintain constant pressure in the tank as needed. Typically, for a launch, you'd be able to see that liquid oxygen condensing into clouds around the vehicle, but today, the best indication we have is that audio feedback coming from the launch pad. We are standing by for that LOX call out on board stage 2. At which point Falcon 9 will be fully loaded with 1 million...
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There's that confirmation that we have 1 million pounds of fuel on board Falcon 9. Now the next call out we're listening for is at T-minus 60 seconds that Falcon 9 has entered startup mode. That, of course, will mean that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. Then, just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, we will light the M1D engines for liftoff. At this time, the ASBM payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. The range is green, and weather continues to look good, albeit a bit foggy.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Confirmation that Falcon is in startup.
LD is go for launch.
And there you heard that our launch director has given the final go for today's mission. So at T-minus 37 seconds and counting, all systems are ready for the launch of Falcon 9. Let's sit back and watch as the
T-minus
Falcon
30
rocket
seconds.
takes the ASBM mission to space.
T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go ASBM. Vehicle pitching downrange. Chamber pressure is nominal.
That incredible view, of course, means that at T-plus 33 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4 East, carrying the 2 ASBM satellites. Now, after clearing the tower, as you can see a little bit on your screen
Power and
here,
telemetry are nominal.
there's good confirmations that our power and telemetry on board Falcon 9 are looking good. At this point, we're gimbaling the engines on the booster to initiate a slight roll maneuver.
Vehicle supersonic.
Call out there that Falcon 9 is moving faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
And there's confirmation that we have passed through the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. As Falcon 9 accelerates through the thicker, lower atmosphere, the air density decreases, but we're picking up speed as we head to space, which means we're shifting the pressure balance on the rocket as we ascend. When Falcon 9 passes through max Q, the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle, the air density has now lowered faster than the increasing speed of the vehicle. Great views there as Falcon 9 continues on its way to space. Now, coming up shortly, we'll have 3 events in quick succession, and we should hear all of these called out by Mission Control, starting with MECO, followed by stage separation, and then SES-1. Main engine cutoff, or MECO for short, will shut down all 9 M1D engines on the first stage to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation, which is when the first and second stages of Falcon 9 separate from one another. After stage 1 shuts down its engines and separates from the second stage, the booster will begin to make its way back to land. And the second engine will undertake SES-1, or Second Engine Start 1, where we light the MVAC engine on the second stage for the first time. Let's keep an eye out for all of these events happening in just about 5 seconds.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Impact startup.
Awesome views and confirmation that we have had main engine cutoff, stage separation, and of course, second engine start 1. So the next major call out we're looking for is fairing separation. Right now, the fairing is protecting the ASBM payloads from the environments on ascent. But once we reach the vacuum of space, they're no longer needed. So at that point, the halves separate and are jettisoned away.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Great confirmation and views of fairing separation on your screen there. We will, of course, be attempting to retrieve those fairing halves once they fall back to Earth with our recovery vessel Go Beyond, which is also currently standing by in the Pacific Ocean. Coming up here in just a little bit more than 2 minutes, we are anticipating entry burn, which should last about 20 seconds for our first stage booster. But right now, of course, on your screen at T plus 4 minutes and 3 seconds into this launch, you have great views of your MVAC engine on the right-hand side of the screen, taking the ASBM satellites to their intended orbit. The next major milestone we're tracking for the first stage is the entry burn, which should begin at T plus 6 minutes and 22 seconds. To start the entry burn, we will relight 3 of the M1D engines on board the first stage, which is essentially similar to pumping the brakes to slow down the vehicle as it passes back into the Earth's atmosphere. That entry burn will help to reduce the heat generated from the friction of the atmosphere and reduces
Both vehicles are on
aerodynamic.
nominal trajectories.
Good confirmation there that both the first and second stages are on nominal trajectories. So as you can see on your screen at this point in the flight, the second stage is still picking up speed and heading to orbit. On the left-hand side of your screen, you have a great view down the side of Falcon 9 and 2 of those titanium grid fins just atop the booster preparing for landing. Again, the Falcon 9 first stage supporting today's mission is performing this entry approach for the 22nd time. MVAC continuing to pick up speed and altitude in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The engines on board the first and second stage are actually quite similar, but the Merlins on the first stage are optimized for sea level. These achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust each during both ascent and descent. The MVAC engine, by contrast, has a much wider nozzle, which you can see on the right-hand side of your screen right now, and is optimized to 220,500 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of space. One of the next major milestones we're tracking here is going...
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
There's confirmation that we have entry burn startup on board our first stage on the left-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
There's confirmation of entry burn shutdown on the first stage, and with that we should have just about a minute until we hear SECO 1, or second engine cutoff 1, for the MVAC engine on board the second stage. Shortly after that, we'll hear the call out for the landing burn, which is the final burn of the Falcon 9 booster.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Good callouts from Mission Control as first stage continues back toward Earth.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Good callouts from
Stage 1 transonic.
From Mission Control, and with that last one, we know that Falcon 9 continues on its way back to Earth. Great views of those grid fins steering through the atmosphere as well. As a reminder, we are attempting to land this booster today on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There's confirmation that landing burn has begun, and we are expecting this burn to last for about 20 seconds in total.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
That was a beautiful touchdown of our Falcon 9 rocket. And of course, in the midst of all that, we also heard confirmation of second engine cutoff and nominal orbital insertion from Mission Control. Great views of MVAC up there in space with our 2 ASBM satellites on board. And as a reminder, this was our 22nd launch and landing for the first stage we flew today, marking SpaceX's 318th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including the first stage landings for both Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. Now we are going to enter roughly a 28-minute coast phase, and then we'll be back for second engine start 2, or SES2, of the MVAC engine on board the second stage, at about the T plus 36-minute mark. So for now, kick back and enjoy some space tunes. We'll see you back here for SES2.